Aaron Ask America.
Welcome to Aaron Ask America. On today's episode, I have a friend of mine. Some people call her Jennifer. Some people call her JTF. We're going to find out what you're going to call her by the end of the episode. Jennifer, welcome to Aaron Ask America. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I am so thankful that you came on to the show. And whenever I had this idea of the podcast, there were two people in the office that I actually did have like in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. It was Lou and it was you, right?
Yeah.
So I had Lou on here. When he said yes, I was like, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then when you said yes, I was like, okay, yes. Not that there's not other people
Right.
in the office that I wouldn't mind on here, but y'all were the first two because...
We're the best ones.
I mean...
I'm just kidding.
You said it, not me, right? So I'm so glad that you came on here because
Thanks.
for one, like... I don't remember the exact moment when you and I met. I just know that we met through being realtors, and like I just knew. You just know when people have it, right? When you can, and your personality, everything about you, just screams realtor. And then also, I want to have you on here, so we're definitely going to cover that.
Thanks.
But I'm glad that you're here.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking me. I'm flattered.
Yeah,
that somebody wants to hear what I have to say. Usually they're telling me to be quiet.
That could happen during this podcast. I could be like, you know what? Enough. No, definitely not. So you and I met, like I just said before, in the office. We're both realtors.
Yeah.
And so that's how we met. So the first question that I have is like, what made you want to become a realtor?
Oh, gosh, so many things. I was at a point in my life where, oh gosh, I think I was probably 47. And I remember, lots of things led up to it. I won't get into a whole bunch of it, but things in my life, just like anybody else, just weren't going the way you thought they were going to go. Things change, plans change. And I was in a job that I was just... I loved my job, but at the same time, I couldn't do what I want. They wouldn't let me be in sales. They wouldn't let me be in marketing. And I felt like that's where my talents were, is, with people, really, really wanted to be in sales a lot. But I was told that, they don't hire people for the sales jobs. Well, I probably shouldn't say this, so I won't. So anyways, in other words, I was not... They weren't going to let me do what I wanted to do. I wanted to move up in the company. I wanted to be a bigger part of things. And they said, this is what your job is. If you don't like it, then you can go find another one. And this is after 17 years of being there. Yeah. So, and I loved my job.
Yeah.
And but I just couldn't do anything else. And I decided, what can I do? I don't want to go back to college. I was never a good student, ever. I just can't sit still. I can't be quiet long enough to learn anything. And I was trying to figure out what could I do that would allow me to be out in the world, because for so long I'd been sitting in an office and just by myself, doing my work, looking out the window going, gosh, I wish I were out in the world.
Right.
And so I was like, what can I do that's out in the world? And of course, I started thinking about real estate. And I had thought about real estate a couple of years prior, and was told by some people that it wouldn't be a good fit for me, and because it was commission based only.
Right,
and I was like, well, I can still do it, and so I took a leap of faith in January of 2018 and handed my card over to Champion School of Real Estate and paid for my classes. And that was a big expense for me at the time. And it wasn't, so I was like, okay, here's my credit card. I better make it work because I got to pay that off, and so that's what started it. It was, what am I going to do is what it was. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be at this place anymore that I was at. And, it was a hard time. It's hard when you're at a job and you want so much more and you're not going to get it there. Yeah. And you drive up and you sit in your car before you go in and you cry.
Yeah.
Because this is not what I want to do. It's not where I want to be. Things have to change.
So
They needed to
So
change.
you and I have a similar story. So I worked in the banking industry forever.
Yeah.
And it was during like the 2008, 2009 is when I was in the middle of my career there. And that's when everything crashed. So it was like
Yeah.
layoff after layoff after layoff. And my dad, which you know, and my mom,
Yeah.
you know them.
I love
Yeah,
them.
yeah, they've been realtors for a really long time.
Uh-huh.
And whenever I got laid off from Bank of America, actually, hold on, it was, I think American Home Mortgage. My dad was like, hey, why don't you get your license?
Yeah.
You know, you should do that. You got the personality, might as well do it, right? So I took all the classes. And I didn't take the test because I got a job.
Yeah.
With, forget who, I think it was CoreLogic at the time. Anyways, so I get a job there, forget all the classes, right? And then I get a Bank of America, and then they lay me off. I call my dad up, and he's like, "Are you done being laid off?" And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "Take the test." So I took all my classes like years before I took the test. So when I went back, I had to take like, I don't know, like a contracts class,
Yeah.
and then I took the mega prep course at Champion,
Yeah.
and then just passed the test.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Did you pass it on the first try?
I did. Here's what I'll tell you is, did you pass it on the first
I
try?
did.
Okay, so
I sure
when
did.
you walked out of there, did you feel like you did?
No.
So,
I thought I was like, I have no idea what they were asking me because those were not in any class we took.
yeah.
None
Oh,
of
yeah.
those things were in the classes we took.
So for me, I walked out and I knew that I had passed in my brain
Yeah.
the national test. It was the Texas
Yeah.
test that I was like, I took both of the, like, you know, they just hand you the papers.
Yeah.
I took both of them and I folded them up. I didn't even look at them. I was so angry. At the
Yeah.
place that I went to was down in the, I think, Bedford area. So it's second floor. So like I get into the elevator and I'm still so angry. I was like, how in the world did they put these questions on the test, right? So I flipped open the first one and it said pass, and I was like, in my brain I was like, stupid national test, right? And I flipped over the other one and it said pass, and I was like, you just
Yeah.
feel like this weight come off of you.
Oh, yes.
Because there was a lady in class and God put her in the class
Yeah.
just for me, because she was in class and she's like, how many times have you taken the test? I'm like, this will be my first time. And she's like, this will be my 8th time.
Oh, my.
Yeah, she was taking like the mega prep course for like the
Oh,
8th
my
time. She had failed it so
goodness.
many times. And about 7 or 8 months after I had joined Judge Fight, she come walking in the door.
Yeah.
A Judge Fight looking to get on.
That's so cool.
And I never saw her again. But when she saw me, because, you know, I'd forgotten about her, she
Yeah.
was like, hey, you remember me? I was like, yeah. She's like, I finally passed it. I was like, was that like 7 months ago? She's like, yeah, it took me like 8 more times. And
Oh
she-
my goodness. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, when I opened up those results, I cried like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I went in the bathroom and cried because I'd been through so much. Oh my goodness. You know, it was rough. I was convinced I failed it. I hadn't been to school in 35 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I started the school, like my very first, because I did all weekends. So I essentially finished it in about 6 weeks. But during part of that, my oldest brother passed away, like right when I started school. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know, right in the middle of this. And I was really worried, you know, about how I was going to make this work because I had to be there for my family and try to do this. And I remember when and I'm not trying to sound cold-hearted, I fully believe that my brother would have wanted me to do it this way. But once we got over the service and everything, I went back. You know, I missed a weekend, but I went back the third week
Yeah.
and took that class, and I just kept my blinders on, you know, and I was like, I can do this. You know, I was like, Michael, I will grieve when this is done. So, you know, because I needed to change my life. And so when I took my test prep, I took the mega thing like you were talking
Yeah.
about, and I get in there and I remember looking at the questions and I thought, what the hell is this?
Right.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't even make sense to me. And I think that the national was pretty easy.
Yeah, because it was like 50
Five?
questions? Or
Yeah.
something like
Oh
that?
gosh, I don't remember.
I think it was like 50 questions, and the Texas was like 22.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
weird like that. And I remember, I could go back and forth, a little bit. And so I did. I would answer a few and go back. And I was just racking my brain. What are they talking about? I don't understand this. How did this happen? So I just went, you know what? I'm going to fail this. So I'm just going to answer the questions. And so I answered all the questions. Pretty much. I was just like, I'm just going to put what I think it might be. And I remember I got out of it and I asked the lady and I was like, I already know, I didn't pass, did I? And she goes, here's the results. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Didn't say a word to me.
Same thing with the other person.
Yeah. And I went into the ladies' room and looked at it and I was just floored, and I just started bawling. Oh, hope I don't start that now. But it was there was a catalyst moment, where you just.
Well, even with our situations in that specific moment were different. You just feel that weight lifted off of your shoulders because of the fact there's so much pressure. Because like with the national exam, I think it was 50 questions, so there's that cushion where you could miss a few.
Well, you miss some,
but like, I know all these blah 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 blah. But when it comes to the Texas one, I think it was like. I think you could only miss like 7 or 6.
Yeah.
And whenever I took it, and I don't know if it was the same when you did, but like you could, what they told you to do is they told you to answer all the questions you could, and then take the ones that you couldn't and put them up at the top. And then when you got to the end, it sent you back for you to answer all of them. So whenever I got to the end of like the Texas test, there was like 12. Like half of them I had lifted up because I was like, I don't know these answers. Yeah. So that's why I walked out. I was like, I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference between your class and the test.
Yeah.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
But I was really excited because I called my dad the first thing. Daddy, because I'm a daddy's girl, and oh God, I was so excited because I was like, I can do anything with this. I could be a realtor, or I could be in maybe mortgage or something. I've got a background in accounting, so. I can do this, I can do that. And I actually felt for the first time in years that I had a chance at something. And so it's a big deal, And it just, some people are like, it's not a big deal. It's just a realtor life. It's like, no, you don't understand.
You go take the test, and then you tell me it's no big deal.
Exactly. You tell me that you're in the, that your life is so perfect, that you don't have anything writing on anything. And then come back and tell me that it doesn't mean anything, because it does. It's a big deal. You stay out of school for 35 years and see what happens.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
but I just think that they just fully don't understand. Like if they took like the practice test, I think that they would they get like a little bit of But I think what it all boils down to is kind of like what at least I'm sure he probably says in every class, but like. When Jim Fight came into our orientation class, he was like, okay, is everybody ready to get a real job, right? So when you tell people that you're going to be a realtor, there's like, for whatever reason, there's like this aura even now where it's like, it's not like a real job. Like you're only doing this for a little bit of time, but then like there's people like my parents and like I've been doing this for 8 years now. And
me too.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not a fly-by-night job. For some people it is, but for those of us that are rolling with it, we're trying to keep it going. But
have you seen that South Park episode about the realtors?
Oh no.
About what he said. people become realtors because they have nothing else left to do. There's nothing else they can do. So they become a realtor.
Could be true. My story did start with a bunch of layoffs. So maybe that is true for me. Yeah.
And mine started like, geez, I don't want 4 years of college. I don't want to do that. I don't know. What do I do? I know.
Realtor.
Real estate.
Yeah. So talk to me about your very first, how did you get your very first client?
My very first client was a friend of mine. And she wanted to buy a house, and she saw me on Facebook talking about, I just got my license. And she was like, hey, I want to buy a house. And, I just got married, and we want to do this. And I was like, great. So, and I still worked at the pickle place, because I used to work in accounting at a pickle company. And so I was doing that while I was, learning how to do real estate. And so I had to like leave at lunchtime sometimes and go show a house real quick and
Oh,
get
wow,
back in
okay.
time. And so, but she had approached me, and that was really my first time, doing anything. And I remember I was with a different brokerage at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of scary because basically, and I liked the brokerage. I loved the person I worked with, but I didn't really get the best training.
Yeah.
I was just, it was like, okay, well, thanks for signing up. Okay, throw me in the water. And I was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So, but I figured it out. I was able to kind of get the guidance and work through it. And when I had my first closing, I can't remember if I went during my lunch hour to do the close. I think I did that. I went through my lunch hour, and I did the closing, and then I didn't know how it worked after that. I didn't know if you were supposed to wait around for your money, or were you supposed to wait till they mailed it. I had no clue. And so I remember, I was like, well, I'm just going to be late from lunch. You're late. And I'm going to wait here. So I did. I sat there in the title company, and I was like, I'm just going to wait for a little bit. And I waited like an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
And got my check. And then I went back to work, and I was like, sorry, I'm late. What do you say?
Yeah, but you're also looking at your first closing check.
I
and you're
did. I
like,
looked at my check, and I was like, you're kidding.
Yeah.
Even after the split,
Yeah.
it was the biggest check I had ever had. And by today's definition, it wouldn't be really considered, that big a check, that big a deal. But to me, considering what checks I was bringing home,
Right.
it was like, this was like 6 months worth of my pay. That shows you how little I was making.
Yeah, wow.
the other place. Although I will say, in case anybody from my former job sees this,
I loved it. I love working there.
I-
I wish I
I-
could go back.
no. But I did, I was very grateful and thankful that I did have that job because
Yeah.
it allowed me to raise my children. It allowed me to be a single mother. And, when you have a kid with, 2 children, one has special needs, and it's just you, I was very blessed to have had that job. And so I really wanted to stay there, but I just couldn't. Anyways, we don't need to.
Yeah.
I think I
Well,
just messed up the whole interview.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You're fine. So, my very first legitimate, and this is, I'm telling you, you're going to understand this because you know how this full circle. I'm telling this for them.
Yeah.
But like my very first legitimate client, because my dad gave one to me, that doesn't count. One that I
Right.
got. So I was doing phone duty at Judge Fight. Phone rings, client. It's a young guy, and he's like, "Hey, I'm moving here from Lubbock. He just graduated. Lockheed grabbed him up, and so he was looking to rent. So he rents from, he find him a rent house. A year later, he's calling me up saying, I want to buy a house. And then about 3 months ago, he calls me up and he's like, hey, I'm looking to get a bigger house.
Yeah.
So like, keep up with the people. I know, like
Yeah.
I'm still working with my very first client.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like I meet him, he's fresh out of college. Grant, we all don't know what we're doing. He brings
Yeah.
his mom along. We find a rental house, close on that, easy. And
Yeah.
then a year later, mom and dad come down from wherever he lived. We all look at houses. He buys a new build from Antares and then closes on that. And then one of the things I got from him was we were waiting on title and we were like, hey, why don't we go out to eat? So, because we were
Yeah.
down in Arlington, so we went to Babe's Chicken down
Yeah.
in Arlington. And like, I paid for everybody. And then that gave me the idea, like, okay, that's what I'm going to start doing for all my clients.
Yes.
And whenever he called me back up, I was like, hey, his name is Dakota. There's no last names or anything like that. But I was like, hey, do you remember when we went to Babe's Chicken? He's like, yeah. I was like, I'm still doing that for all my clients. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, it started with you. And
Yeah.
he started laughing. But no, what's funny is like now he's married. So it's like he got out of college. He
Yeah,
bought a
you
house.
followed him.
Yeah, and now he's married, and we're gonna find probably around March we're gonna find him
That's
a house.
great.
It's gonna be crazy. So
That's great.
years later, we're still working with the same people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Don't you love that?
Yes.
Don't you love it when they come back to you because they had such a good experience, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, and you're mailing them things ever so often. Just be like, hey, look, remember me?
I need to do that.
Yeah, because like, well, the thing was, is he called the loan officer because my main loan officer that I use is a friend of mine that was in. She's been in LO longer than way longer than I've been a realtor.
Yeah.
And so he called her first, and then he called me afterwards after he spoke to her. So
Yeah.
so he's using the same team, so
Yeah.
which is what we want, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
after you get your first taste with the first closing,
Yeah.
how long did you stay at the company before you were just like, okay, I got to do this full time?
It's a funny story, actually. Sometimes I wonder if I should even tell it.
You don't have to.
No,
You
it's
don't
really,
have to.
it's funny. Nothing can happen to me,
Yeah.
by saying this. But, I was doing dual career for about 9 months. And once I started really, getting in the groove of stuff, I began mixing work with work. And so, I'd been at my job for so long, I could do it blindfolded with
Yeah.
one hand, and I could get it done in 3 hours. And so a lot of times I would work on contracts at my other job. And I know they could see what I was doing. They had to
Yeah.
have, because they can see us, they made it very clear. We can see on your screen. We can get in any time and see what you're doing. And so it went on a little bit. And, I had, 3 closings that year, my first year, 3 or 4. I think I had 4. And the next year rolls around, January, February. And by that time, I'm not even paying attention to my other job. Some things kind of slipped through the cracks,
Yeah.
and, which wasn't, and there were things that happened at at that position that happen a lot. There are lots of changes that are made in accounting. And so some payments, I was accounts receivable,
Okay.
and some payments didn't get to us. And this is actually really funny. So a lot of payments weren't getting to us. And, and yes, I let a lot of things slip through the cracks because I was busy with my new career. And I felt that, maybe that should take precedence. And, I was just riding it from that point on anyway. I was just getting that other weekly check, while I built this business. And, some things fell through the cracks for a little bit too long, maybe. And one day I walked in the office and there was no one there. And I sat down at my desk, and one of the owners came in, and he was like, "Hey," and he was so nervous. I could see him sweating. I was like, "Hey, what's wrong? What are you doing?" And he goes, "We're terminating you." And I was like, "What?" I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's one of the
Yeah.
reasons I left, because I saw a lot of other employees that had been there 10, 20, 30, 40 years that were just being let go.
Yeah.
Without even a word, not so much as a thanks, nothing. So I knew that if I stayed long enough, I would be next. And honestly, for 2 years prior, I had a feeling that my neck was on the line anyway, which is one reason I wanted to get away so bad. And so, he'd come in and they were like, "Okay, you got to get your things." And they watched me pack my stuff up, which was bizarre.
It is, yeah.
Because I was like, "What do you think I'm going to steal something? Do you think I'm going to like rip something up or cause a scene or scream and cry?"
Yeah.
You've known me for 17 years, and they're like, "Sorry, it's protocol." And I was like, "Okay." Well, it was funny because at the time I was like, well, no big deal. I got 3 closings coming up. And so, they escorted me to my car, which again blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was just such a betrayal, even though I knew it was going to happen eventually. I just didn't know it would happen like that. And I remember I left there and I got in my car. I drove over, because at that time I was with Century 21 Judge Fight. And I went over to the office. I walked in, and there's Leanne and there's Donnie, and I just burst into tears. And they're like, "What happened?" And I said, "I just got fired." And Leanne goes, "Yay!" She starts clapping,
Yeah.
and Donnie's like, "Well, that's okay. Now you can do this, for full time." And I was just terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. I was like, "I don't know if I can do this full time." And he goes, "Well, you've got closings coming up." And I said, "I have 3." And they were like, "Screw them, you're fine. You're going to be great." And so it was just a jolt.
Yeah.
And it took me a couple of weeks to get used to the fact that I could wake up in the morning and not have to go to the other place. It was weird. I was driving to the new office on Camp Bowie. And I was like, because for 17 years I went the same way, the same place, the same road. And I was like, I'm heading down this other road. I'm going to a different building. And it was really, really good. And, I will never forget that feeling.
Yeah, it's the feeling of waking up and knowing that you have the freedom.
Yeah.
So like, you have, you have your different hats you put on to build the
Yeah.
business, but like, because whenever I was working at Bank of America, I did that for I think 3 or 4 years before the layoff happened. I was welcome. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, what I was getting at is just whenever I worked for Bank of America, I was hopping on 8:20.
Yeah.
I had to be at work at like, I think it was 7, and I was leaving the house at basically 5:45 because traffic is so horrible.
Yeah.
To get there, and then when I got laid off, and then so I was lucky. I didn't tell this part before. So one of my really good friends was my team lead at Bank of America. He comes to me in January and he says, "Hey, there is a layoff coming, and I can't get your name off of it. So
Yeah.
you have until April."
Yeah. Oh,
So I knew 3 months in advance before I was getting laid off. So I used my time to do what I need to do to get my license,
Right.
right? And so whenever I got laid off like the first week of April, and then I took my test in the middle of April. But during that time, when you wake up
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about fighting traffic anymore,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so freeing. And
and you don't have to see certain people.
there's that too. There's no office drama really.
Right.
And what's funny is I think you know this, but I just switched my license to Better Homes and Gardens.
I did. I heard.
So there's 4 classes that I have to take as part of orientation, and all 4 classes are in Dallas.
Oh, no.
So I've had to drive to Dallas one time. It should have been 3 times by now, but the trainer got sick. But like
Yeah.
driving to Dallas just gave me like, I don't know, was it PTSD of getting up and going to work at Bank of America? I was like, what is going on here? I
Right.
don't understand.
Right.
But just having the reminder of fighting traffic
Yeah.
all the way there, because it took me, I think, an hour and 30 or 40 minutes to get from here all the way to Dallas.
That's a beat down.
Yeah. And I did it one time, and I was like, I can't believe I did this
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
4 years.
Right?
For 4 years straight.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was wild. So
Yeah.
enough about me. Back to you. As far as like once you were able to let go, because I get
Oh,
that
yeah.
you have that lifeline of the job, and now
You
it's
do.
gone.
You
But-
have your you have your security.
and then you have your 3 closings come up, and
Yeah.
then that kind of just those types of closings that you have set up. Not only does it gives you the, what's the word I'm looking for? You can look at it and say, okay, these are coming up.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happens, these are going to close.
Yes.
So you don't count the eggs first, but
Right.
you also know that those eggs are coming. So that kind of helps you.
Yeah, I was very comfortable.
Yeah.
I felt comfortable, in what was happening. I mean, it was, there were many doors that God opened and closed for me within the span of a year and a half. No, let me take that back. No, a year and a half. I went from, a terrible breakup, wondering what's going to happen with my life. Why did this happen? Everything I thought was going to happen is not. Everything's changing, and then seeing an opportunity, or making an opportunity, really. It's not really seeing it, because I knew what I needed to do, after that happened. And opening that door and going to get my license, and then, getting my license, having a couple of closings, really start to get into my groove.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was kicked out of another door because I was getting too comfortable. I was like, okay, well, I'm doing this. I'm getting my weekly check. I'm doing this on the side. I'm getting, I'm building something here.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that God was like, girl, there's a reason you got your license, and there's a reason, that you wanted to do this. So let me just help you again. Boom. And then that door slammed shut, that I just went through. And it was, I think that was the wildest thing about it was, some doors open and some of them closed. Some of them slammed shut.
Yeah.
never to be opened again. And it was literally one door shut, walk through the next one, that's shut, walk through the next one, and that one shuts. And then here you are.
Yeah.
And so I believe, I firmly believe God was working very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Specific.
Specifically, very, intently.
Yeah.
Intently. There was intent there. It was like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned really quick when it comes to real estate,
Yeah.
especially being a realtor, is the reliance on God.
Your faith.
Yeah, because like you sit in an office
Mm-hmm.
and you can work, 5 days a week,
Yeah.
get your paycheck. You get used to it. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to real estate, there's a little bit of a you have to go out there and get stuff done. So
Yes.
there's some of the
Yeah.
clients, and I'm sure you've run into this too, because it's the business that we're in. Where like you're just like, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden, this person pops up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Kind of like my client that I told you that called me
Yeah.
up out of nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Like I didn't even know he was like I'd been sending him stuff, but like I didn't know he was ready to look, right? So that's something that's coming up that you weren't expecting to come up.
Right.
So you have these moments where you're just like, okay then.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how I got my first like listing and what happened with that. So, and then if you want to tell
Sure.
how you got yours, because mine's going to be way, way, way quicker. So my buddy finds out that I got my license. He calls me up. He's like, hey, my sister-in-law wants to sell her house. I told her you're a realtor. Here you go. I was like, thank you so much. She calls me up and she's like, hey, I want you to list my house. I get my dad. We both go over there. Keep in mind, this was back in 18, right?
Yeah.
So we go there, we talk to her. The house is only worth 205, right? She's like, my house is worth 230, right? So I was like, okay, well, we'll list the house at 230 because I was really worried about
Yeah.
my friend, because my friend trusted me to sell her house.
Right.
Put the house on the market for 230. And it stayed 230, and she at one point she came in the door because I kept doing open house after open house. There was nobody showing up,
Yeah.
because it was so overpriced.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, the house needs to be 209. I was like, I looked at it, my dad looked at it. My dad's been doing this for 20 plus years. He knows what he's talking about. She's like, no, it's still worth 230. She finally calls me up and she's like, you're fired. She listed with somebody else at 209.
Oh, no.
209 and sold it. My buddy calls me.
Doesn't that infuriate you?
It did at the time, because I was more infuriated because of my friend. Like I was more worried about the referral, the person that
Yeah.
referred the person to me. But he called me up and he was like, hey, she's crazy. I'm sorry. He's like, I know what happened. But that's how I got my first listing. So like my
Right.
very first story that I have is like
Yeah.
my very first listing I got fired because
Right.
the lady that she was out of her mind. But 230 now would have been is like a junker now, right?
Right. Yeah, it is. It's an investment property, which is insane.
So the first listing that you got, is that the one that you told about before? Or is it a different?
Oh, it's a different one.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first listing I got was in Park Glen, and it was on Point Reyes. I remember this like it was yesterday. Man, that was a good time. I went door knocking. I got it on a door knock, and I didn't really know how to get a listing. I didn't know. I took the steps for success and all that class, and but I couldn't. I didn't really have much of a sphere because the place I worked at wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah.
They banned me from emailing anybody. I didn't even get to say goodbye to anybody and tell them what I was doing. So, I was like, okay, well, how do I do this? And, I used to do a little bit of campaign work for certain people and would knock on doors, and get people to, hey, here's this card. I ran for precinct chair once, so I was comfortable with that. And I knew how to approach people at the door. And so I was like, I'm just going to knock on some doors and see what happens.
Yeah.
And I did that all summer long, that first real year alone, on my own. And actually, that's not true. I was still dual career, sorry. But that was my first listing was door knocking,
Nice.
and I knocked on the door and the lady was like, what do you want? And I just said, hey, you had your house listed and blah, blah, blah. And, I was like, I'd like to, talk to you about putting it back on the market. And she invited me over the next night, when her husband was there, and we had a nice long talk. And I remember it was my very first listing appointment. I'm just like, oh my God.
Sweating bullets, right?
Oh
Sweating
yeah.
bullets.
How do I make them think I know what I'm doing? And I remember asking Donnie,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I was like, what do I say if they ask me how long I've been doing this? Because that's the first thing they want to know.
Right.
And he goes, just tell them it feels like forever. Or I think it was Leanne that might have said that. And so they asked me that night, how long have you been doing this? Or how long have you been a realtor? And I said, oh my God, it feels like forever. Anyway, so look at this. I went right over it. Right. And they just kind of laughed about it, and then they tried to. I remember the wife, super sweet family. I really, really loved working with them. And but I remember she was like, oh, your compensation, yeah, I don't know if I can do that to my husband. That's a lot. And I was like, well, I mean, we paid the buyer agent 3% of that. And yeah, but that's just a lot. I just don't know if I can do it to him. I mean, he doesn't deserve that. And David goes, I think it's fine. And I was just like, thank goodness, because I haven't had that much training to know how to talk about compensation.
Yeah.
So, and it just worked out really well. But it was a very rocky transaction because, that was at the time when, when things aren't going as planned, and they have showings and, feedback and then they get discouraged and then, oh, wait, now we've got a buyer and we go under contract and, they try to get this house, but that didn't work out. That fell through. And they're like, well, we need to take this off the market and maybe just stay here. And I looked at him and I said, you can't. You're under contract. You can't. There's nothing we can do about this.
So they wanted to pull the house off the market.
They wanted to take it. Yeah, they wanted to take everything back. Yes. They wanted to stop everything. And I was like, oh boy, what do I do? How do I explain this? So I went to management a lot and had to walk through this. And then, one of the houses they really wanted had gone under contract. And they were like, we just don't know what to do at this point. And I was like, we're going to have to go with a plan B, which is let's finish this one, find an extended stay for a week or so until we find a house. Well, the house they really wanted went under contract, but then it fell out of contract, and I happened to notice it just by looking online. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's back on market. So I called the agent, and I was like, hey, do you have another buyer yet? And they said, no. Do you? And I said, yes, I do. And so I told Susan, I called her up, and I said, guess what? And she was so defeated. And I said, that house over there in by Eagle Mountain? And I said, it's back on market. And she was just so excited and so thrilled.
Yeah.
And we swooped in and got that house, and she still lives there. And but that was like, I just felt like the biggest superhero, oh, I made this happen, and I did such a good job, and it was so hard, and several transactions after that were like that. It seemed like I had all the hard ones. Everything you could imagine that would happen happened to me in my first year, over and over and over. And I remember telling Donnie and Leanne, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I mean, this is too hard. And he goes, dear, how I used to say that, dear. Mm-hmm. He goes, this is exactly what you need. So you can expect what's going to happen the next time or you'll know how to handle it the next time this happens. And now you can expect it. You can, you can be prepared. And I was like, I sure hope you're right, and about 7 transactions later, it did start to get easier, but my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's probably about 1 in 5 that generally goes smoothly.
Yeah.
Right? Just because it involves 2 sets of people that don't know each other and both are trying to get something that they want, right?
Right.
The easiest transaction, and maybe you've had one of these, was a buddy of mine. It's always your friend, right?
Yeah.
He calls he called me up and he's like, hey, my wife and I want to go look at houses. Okay, well, you want to do it Saturday? Yes. He calls me up like Friday night and he's like, hey, we found a house. I was like, what? And he's like, come over here and sign on the contract, because he went to a D.R. Horton without me and told him that I was a realtor. So I basically hopped in the car, drove 5 minutes up the road, because that D.R. Horton right over here.
Yeah. Right.
That was it.
I just sat here.
Yeah, I just, you did everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And he gives me a hard time about either. He's like, that was the easiest paycheck you ever made, right? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had all of his ducks in a row financially, everything. Him and his wife
Those
knew
are
what
my
they wanted.
favorites. Those are my favorite clients.
Yeah.
Very much so.
But
The
then-
people that know what they're doing.
Well, then there's the ones that are the toughest. Like, I'll tell you, I started something with my phone where if I deal with somebody that is just not a good realtor,
Yeah.
I will put a word that I cannot say on this podcast. I put, it starts with an S and ends with a Y. And
Yeah.
agent afterwards. And
Yeah.
I've had 3 of those that are in my phone. So if you search up that word, 3 agents will pop up. And
Yeah.
one of them was like recently. It was
Yeah.
the recently transaction that I had. My last transaction with Judge Fight was literally the worst transaction I've
Oh,
had
my
ever
God,
gone
I'm
through.
so
It
sorry.
had nothing to do with anybody. It stunk because the agents were terrible.
Yeah.
The buyers' agents were terrible. They had their buyers believing they could purchase this house when they couldn't. And the loan officer did the same thing too. So they built these people up into thinking they could purchase this house.
Oh my gosh.
They lost. I really hope that they found out and they could sue everybody that they could, but they lost, the appraisal, the inspection.
Yeah.
What else do you put
Did they
down?
lose their earnest money?
They lost all of the earnest
Oh
money.
my goodness.
Yeah, and it was because of the loan officer and the agent. I ended up calling the vice president of the company. It was IBC Bank. I don't care. Anybody can. If you look at me right now, if you got IBC Bank, do not use them. It was awful experience because I called. I just happened to get the vice president on the phone.
Yeah.
He picked up, and I told him what was going on. He's like, "Let me see what I can do." Never heard from him again.
Yeah. Oh my
Never heard
goodness
from him
gracious.
again. Yeah.
Oh my
Never
goodness
heard
gracious.
from him again. I called him and called him and called him, and here's what I'll tell you: we got to the day of closing. Still don't know why I didn't close.
Oh my god.
Nobody called me back.
No financing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's ultimately what it boiled
Yeah.
down to. Is like we're just guessing that the loan officer was lying to me, was lying to everybody.
Yes.
The agents were lying to me and to everybody, and they thought they were going to be able to pull it off, and
Yeah.
then when they didn't pull it off, the realtors, the loan officer, and the vice president stopped talking to me.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's wild, but
That's
like
crazy.
when we extended this is how they got all the money. When we extended the closing date, I put an amendment, or I put in the amendment, the extension
Yeah.
is that now all earnest money is forfeit to the seller, and that's so. So that's what happened. So when they didn't close, we didn't have to get a release of earnest money because it
Yeah.
all went to them.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And that was one of 3 buyers.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
it was bad. It was really really bad.
I'm so sorry.
No,
that
it's
happened.
it happens. It happens.
It does.
It just yeah, definitely. So if you want to hit pause, Dexter. So that was my worst recent transaction. You had just mentioned that. I guess you don't have to trade. We don't have to trade war stories.
No, I'm good. I'm good with
I
it.
want to keep it. I want to keep it positive. Like this house right here next door. Like they sold. They let me sell their house next door.
Yeah.
And then they purchased a house over here. And then they're looking to purchase again.
That's great.
And then when we were protesting those buildings behind us that they're building, I met a couple like 5 houses down.
Yeah.
That they let me sell their house, and I got to refer them to an agent down in Galveston. So like. There's just so many transactions that have
Yeah.
gone so smoothly that just populate out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Just protesting this crap,
Yeah,
this garbage
right.
behind me, like I got a client.
That's awesome.
So instead of you telling me a war story, unless you really, really want to, where's one of the craziest places that you met a client? That's appropriate. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no worries there. The craziest place, but I do want to tell you a story about
Yeah.
a wild transaction. The craziest place, not really a weird place, more just a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went to get a Chick-fil-A, and the kid saw my badge, and he goes, "Are you a realtor?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, we want to sell our house. My
No.
mom wants to sell her house." And I said, "Okay." And so I went, and that's how I met him.
Wow.
And he's and I still talk to him, and I helped them sell their house, in Wedgwood, or Candle Ridge, actually. And then helped them buy one in Ridgely Country Club Estates, and now I'm going to help them sell that one, I think, in the next year. But that was probably the most interesting place I ever got a client.
You're just stopping for fast
So
food.
just stopping for a
Chick-fil-A
Chick-fil-A
It's-
and got me a client.
and not being a secret agent, right? Because you had your
secret
badge
agent.
on.
Yeah. No, I wear it everywhere too.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey. Look what I see. Wear it to dinner, parties. If somebody mentions it, I go, oh, sorry. And I'll take it off, but
And as soon as the conversation opens, you're like, shut up. Put it back on.
Exactly.
Right. So now you've gotten my mind going. You have done a lot of transactions. So you saying like the wildest one, like talk to me about that one.
I had a transaction 2 years ago, and it was somebody that maybe just a year ago, it doesn't matter. I had a transaction. One of my friends was working for a bankruptcy attorney, and she called me and she said, hey, one of our clients needs to sell his house. And I said, okay, great, send him on over. So I went to his house, and we chit-chatted. And, the first red flag should have been that none of the lights were on in the house.
Oh, no.
But it was a nice summer day, the windows were open, the doors were open. It was really nice and breezy, lots of natural light. And it was a great house, and it was in Arlington. And so, he was like, well, I did have it for sale at one time. And he goes, but but we didn't close. And I said, well, why didn't it close? And he goes, well, they were just trying to take advantage of me. And I just decided I didn't want to sell. And I was like, okay, so you were able to stop everything? He said, oh yeah, I'm fine. Everything's great. So I need to go ahead and do it again. It's been a while, and I'm ready. I've got a divorce now, and it's time to move on. And I said, okay. So, he was in the middle of his bankruptcy, working with an attorney, and this blows my mind to this day. He was working with an attorney, and the attorney never even knew half of this man's story. And so, we list the house, and in about 2 weeks, we got a contract on it, and it was I think it was either full price or just a little more. And we went through that process, got it under contract, got it executed. And, during the option period, I get this call from a guy who's like, hey, this is so-and-so. We have a contract on this house. And I said, what do you mean you have a contract on it? And he goes, yeah, that contract, he goes, that seller was supposed to close this house with us, and he didn't do it. And so we're trying, we are the rightful recipients of this property. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you send me proof of that? Otherwise, I'm not going to have this discussion with you. And so they sent over a contract that he had signed and executed. And the closing date was like the year before. And so I asked my client, I said, hey, man, you think you might have something to tell me here? And he was like, nope. And so I said, I think you do. I think you're under contract with somebody right now. And he goes, nope, I told you that I didn't close. And I said, well, I understand that, but they're saying they have a legal right to your property. And he goes, no, they don't, because they were scamming me. And I wasn't going to sell my house, and they weren't going to give me any money for it. And I got to looking at the contract, and it was an investor that had knocked on his door one day and said, hey, I'd like to sell your house, and I think he was behind on payments or something. That's how they knew he was in trouble.
Yeah.
And so they had approached him about it. And I noticed that he was still married at the time. The contract had both their names on it, the man and the husband and wife. And but only he had initialed all of the pages. Only he had signed the dotted line. And his wife had never signed anything. And I noticed also that in special provisions, they had worked it out that they would pay the HOA fees, and they would do some other, make some other kind of contribution to his closing or whatever. But then they also put in there that the seller will make no more than $35,000 at closing. So the seller was not to get any more than $35,000. This house was a $430,000 home, and he owed maybe $180,000 on it. So he was due to get back a considerable amount of
Yeah.
money. But the scammer had written into the contract that he was not to get any more than $35,000 for this house. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what the hell did you sign this for? Did you not read the contract? And he didn't. He never read it. He just assumed that everything was okay. And then at closing, when he saw the fine print, he said, I'm not signing it.
Yeah.
So that's why he was in the middle of this legal battle with this company. So the title company, I won't say the name of it, but I really want to. The title company had also called and said, you don't have a right to this house. We have the rights to this house. We are pursuing this house, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, and I got the title company to look at all the documents, and even they said, well, the wife never signed it. So it really is an invalid contract. So it shouldn't even stand up, But the title company was run by an attorney. And this attorney was calling the shots here. This attorney knew everything about this contract and the investor. Apparently they worked together. And this attorney, who should be disbarred, was basically trying to rip off this homeowner.
Yeah.
And what made it even worse is I was on my Facebook one day, during the transaction. I'm on Facebook, and I get an email actually from somebody. You know how you get emails for CE classes and stuff like that at different title companies? Well, guess who was offering a CE class on contracts? The same attorney.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I even talked to Tim Gant, and I was like, hey, no, it was Ben. I was like, hey, Ben, I really want to go to this class. And I really want to say, so let me ask you this. If the wife doesn't sign the contract, but the husband does, is it valid? And if he says, no, it's not, then I was going to hold up that contract and say, then why are you doing this? I wanted to rub this.
Film it, everything.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to rub his face in it and everything. And Ben was like, don't do that. Ben said, don't you dare show up there and do that. And I was like, I never get to do what I want.
I would have done it for you. I would have gone and done that.
Oh, my goodness.
At least ask the question.
Oh, yeah. And my client.
And recorded it.
Yeah, then that's what I wanted to do. But my client, bless him, he was stoned a lot, during the process. So he was like, oh, you just want your money and you just want this. And I'm like, I'm trying to save you. I need you to follow these directions that I'm giving you, or else you're going to lose everything, and I mean, it was just horrible. And I ended up terminating. And so the buyers, bless their hearts, are young, they wanted this house. And I couldn't get the other agent to understand that this is not our fault. My client may have known something about this, but nothing I can do.
It could have burnt up in the THC.
It may have, for all I know. But they were like, well, we're going to sue for specific performance. And I said, okay, let me just stop you there, because this is already in a legal battle with somebody else. So your clients can certainly sue, but they're going to lose their money. They're going to lose a lot more than their earnest. They're going to lose $20,000, $30,000. I said, at the end of the day, this other buyer has legal right to this property at this point. So your clients are just spending money for nothing.
Yeah.
And the agent wouldn't let it go. And she was like, nope, we're going to take you to court. We're going to do this. And I said, you need to advise your clients that they are going to lose much, much more. They're never going to get this house. It will not ever happen. So please, just let it go. We've let it go. We don't have any choice but to let it go, And I mean, this agent just wasn't. And finally, after a week of threatening, I just said, fine, do what you got to do, And so they sent in a release of earnest money. And I was like, I cannot apologize enough. But it just blew my mind that an attorney, and I know there's crooked attorneys out there. There's lots of corrupt people. But, I'm still kind of a Pollyanna when it comes to stuff like that. And I was like, well, maybe I can file a thing with the bar, and let them know. But yeah, all of our management was like, Jennifer, stop, because I'm one of those, I want to take it all the way. If you jack with me or my client, I will make sure somehow, some way you pay for it. And I've been taught over the last couple of years just to let it go. Let it go, Jen.
Patience, kindness.
It's not worth it. Yeah. There's just some things you can't win. And I just can't stand it when somebody takes advantage of one of my elderly clients, and I will take it to the cement on that one.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the title even lets something like that get put in the
Yeah.
special provisions, because
Exactly.
I guess the question that I have, I don't want to stay on it too long, but like, what was going to happen with all that extra money? So if he could only make 35,000 at closing, and they're paying, let's say 400,000, he only owes like 100,000. Where does the rest of that money go?
That's a good question.
That's a
That's a very good question. They worked it somehow, that, well, I mean, where it goes back to the buyer, basically.
It would have
because
to.
It has to. I mean, he's saying, I'll buy this house from you. I'm an investor. I'm going to give you this much money.
But you can only make 35,000.
Yes, they went, and I was like, how is this even happening?
Yeah.
How is this attorney? It just didn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, one
So.
of the things that happened to me recently on the other house that I told you about, that I learned, is so that crazy house that had that last transaction at Judge Fight with all the problems, is the scammer that we got
Yeah.
was someone that, what they did is they did not put on the contract and assigned.
Oh.
So they, so they didn't put that on the contract. I would have
Yeah.
never let my client
Yep.
sign anything.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that house off the market for 10 days for the option period.
Yeah.
And then once the option period was over with, they disappeared. Poof, gone.
God.
So that was one thing that I learned real quick.
Yeah.
For like, when from that point going forward,
Yeah.
it was just like, okay, if you're an investor, even though I try not to deal with them,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, the first question I ask is it, are you buying it, or is it and assigned?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it's and assigned, go jump in a lake.
Yeah, I came across one of those not long ago, and they were, they didn't say anything about the assigns until like a week before closing, and they changed it to this other guy. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, well, we're assigning it to. I said, well, you didn't put that on the contract, so I'm going to need to see your agreement, your written agreement with them. And because I need to know what kind of deal you have with this assign. How much are you selling it to them for? How much of my client's equity are you giving away? And he was like, well, I don't have to give you that. And I said, well, you do actually. It's the law, because they had just changed the law in September of the previous year. And I said, it's a law now, so you got to give it to me. And they were like, no. So I called the title company, and I said, this is what's happening. And apparently they have a relationship with this investor.
Of course they do.
Can I say the name of the?
You can say whatever you want.
I don't want to. I might get sued. So I asked the title company, which is a title company that I used a lot. A friend of mine worked there. And she is an attorney also. And she was like, I'm sorry, I can't give you that information. It's proprietary. And I said, you're required by law to share with me this information so that my sellers have a right to see who's buying the house.
Right.
And so she was like, well, I don't know of any law. And I said, it just passed in September. I was like, aren't you an attorney? And she goes, well, yeah, and I don't know anything about it. And I said, well, that gives me pause in using you again, if you don't know the law. And, I just seem to run into this a lot. And so I asked my clients, do you want to pursue this? And she was like, I really don't care at this point. We just want to sell it. My dad's here now with me, and we just want to sell it and be done with it. So, and I was like, okay. Fine with me, but it makes me very mad when we work so hard to stay in line with the law, and we do all the right things, and then here come these agents that try to, pull the wool over your head or whatever, and just try to cheat their way. I had an agent recently just this past summer, who actually withheld documents from me telling me that she wants me to pay her more money. Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I've been running into.
What?
Brand new agent, been an agent for a year, and we had already agreed on compensation, did the 2402, except she never gave me the 2402. And we had talked about compensation, and I said, well, it's 2.5%, because my clients are, it's only been 2 years since they lived there. They're being transferred. They're repeat clients, so I'm giving them a break on their on the commission. And I said, so it's 2.5 me, 2.5 you. And she goes, oh, that's fine. My buyers will make up the other 0.5%. And I was like, great, no problem. And right in the middle of everything, right before the option period was over, she said, well, we're going to do this, but I'm going to hold this other document back until you give me more money. And I said, well, what do you mean more money? And she goes, yeah, you're going to pay me my full commission. And I said, okay.
Can you put that in writing?
Yeah, I was like, you just told me that you're, and I have it in writing,
Yeah.
that you were going to get it from your buyers. I said, we've already agreed to everything. We have it in writing, except for not the 2402. It's in my text. And she said, well, I've changed my mind, and I want more money or my clients are going to walk. And I said, okay, well, you just broke the law.
Yeah.
So big time. And I'm not going to give you more money. And I'm curious why you think you deserve more money. Because they keep going back and forth. It's an as-is sale. They want repairs. And we're saying, no, it's as is. That's why we gave it to you at this price. And so I got real upset about it, and I was like, I just can't believe somebody would do this. This is horrible. Of course, I'm overreacting, but not really.
Right.
And I basically told her, I said, well, I'm just going to talk to your manager. So me and Bill, we called the manager, and I'm not good at confrontation. I know everybody thinks I am, but I'm not.
That's surprising. That is surprising to me.
I am
Is
not.
Is that an exclusive? Can we exclusive? Jennifer's not good at
I
confrontation.
am not good at confronting people.
Let me get this. Door knocking to strangers,
Perfect.
okay. Confrontation.
Confrontation. No, because when I start to get, when something's getting serious, my heart races. My thoughts get jumbled, and I start to worry. How do I sound? Am I sounding professional? How am I coming across? I'm trying not to. There's so many emotions going on in my brain, and so. But, Bill sat with me, and he goes, you got this. He goes, talk to the manager. And I was like, okay. So I told the broker, I said, this is what's going on. I was very calm, and I, had my little notes and all that stuff. And I said, basically, this is what your little girl is doing. And, I've told her many times, and I sent him all the text messages.
Yeah.
This is what we agreed on. And I said, sir, basically, she never gave me a 24-2, so I don't have to pay her a dime. So maybe you ought to tell her that, because if she wants to get paid, this is what it will be. And he was like, oh, I really appreciate you sending this to me. And he started asking questions. And then that's where I needed Bill, because once I start getting comfortable in the confrontation, I'm going to snowball it, and I'm going to beat a dead dog, over and over again. And it was funny because I said, she didn't do this and she didn't do that. And here we are now. And blah, blah, blah. And Bill's like, and I just said, thank you very much, and I hope you can deal with her. I just left it at that. So she calls back and says, okay, or he emailed back and said, she's agreeing to the 2.5%, but they really want you to do this. And I said, it's an as-is sale.
Yeah.
And I went back to my clients and I said, look, here's where we are. It's $400 to pump the septic, even though it was already pumped 2 years ago. They want to do an inspection on septic. And I said, it's $400, I'll cover it. Just because you've been put through the ringer, it's fine. And my clients thought for a second, and he goes, we hate bullies. We're not going for it. They can terminate. And I was like, it's only $400. I can take care of it. And he goes, no, we're not doing it. And I said, okay. So
Client's always right.
Yep. I said, hey, Savannah, why don't you send that termination over, because we are done here. And so they did. And I can't remember. I might have held up the release of earnest money for 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
Because
things get caught up and you forget about things.
I mean, you have a 30-day window, so I waited till the 29th day.
Emails get piled up, you lose things.
Yeah, I might have been a little vindictive. But, I was like, but see, those clients, again, they're dear, dear, dear people to me. And if people are going to hurt my people, there's going to be a problem. And, I had to have a little bit of help with that.
Yeah.
But that's why I like my brokerage, because, they'll back me up when it needs to happen. So I've been called a racist by people. I've been called all kinds of names. I've been accused of things, from these horrible agents that have no ethics.
Yeah.
And I could have. I told my boss, I was like, my boss, I'm the boss. And I told my managers, I was like, I want to file an ethics complaint on that agent. I want her to know that she needs to stop doing that. And I even extended an olive branch to her. And I said, look, you've only been here for a year. You've not done many transactions. I can see your record. And, I don't want to see you ruin your career before you get started, because I think you could really make something of yourself here. You know what you're doing, except get off the chat GPT and have a real conversation. That pissed me off. And so, I said, why don't you come to my brokerage? Let me train you. I train a lot of new agents, and I can make sure that you will know exactly what and what not to do and to keep from getting sued. Because you're giving us a bad name here.
Yeah.
You're the reason we had this big lawsuit, because you aren't honest, you're not ethical. And she said, yeah, I'm happy where I am, but thanks. And I was like, girl, if you don't change your ways, and she goes, well, what do I need to change? And I told her flat out, I was like, A, B, and C right off the bat. And she goes, well, I'm really sorry I said that. Because, she said some pretty crappy things.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, no worries. But if you ever want better training and you want to be a better agent, I'm always here to help you. And I left it at that. I went ahead and I took the high road.
Block. And then you hit the block.
Exactly.
30 days block.
Exactly.
Or you can just put crappy agent right next to their
Oh,
name.
I will never forget her name.
Yeah.
Her name is etched in my brain. I even went to the Burleson tour group, and I was like, this agent. Blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently that agent goes to that group, and I didn't know this. And somebody said, oh, my God, she's one of our regulars. And I was like,
Oh, we love her. She's such a nice person.
yeah.
And you hear these words ringing in your head. You're like, no, she's not.
I was like, you want my text? Here's a text. Here's another one. Here's the message. Stay away from this girl because she's going to bribe you. So, man, that burns me up when I think about it.
Yeah.
But
The thing about it, though,
go.
is like us as humans, we remember a lot of the crazy transactions, but like the ones that go smoothly are the ones you're like, how did that one go? Right?
Yeah.
So I wish it was the opposite of that, right? But it's just one of those things where, like, when you drive from point A to point B all the time, your brain never stores those drives because nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's like a wreck, then you're like, oh, I remember September 7th when there was a wreck here on
Yeah.
this road. So it's different. So your brain stores it. So I just wish that, because there was a lot of transactions that I've gone through that I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is why we do it.
Yeah, yeah. This is why we do it. Like a guy from the church I go to, like him and his wife, brand new to the country. They were looking for. They had an agent. They didn't know that I was an agent, and the person he told me. He calls me Mr. Aaron. He's like, Mr. Aaron, she won't return my calls. I was like, guess who
Oh
will
my
return your
goodness.
calls? This guy.
Right.
This guy. And so he's like, okay. And then we found, and him and his wife moved in the house, and
Yeah.
then they had their second kid, and they're flourishing. It's such a great. They're right up the road, too, and so I get to see him every Sunday, and he always comes up to me. And there was a couple of issues post with D.R. Horton that I still helped him out with, right?
Yeah.
But ever so often, we'll see each other. Generally when we see each other, we're there for worship, so we're just like, hey, blah. But every so often, like, so how's the house going? We love it.
Yeah.
We love it because where they came from, it's, and
Yeah.
that the place that they moved from was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was a 1-bedroom like apartment, like studio place, where it's him, his wife, and their daughter,
Yeah.
and their daughter's like 13. And and like he was describing the room, it was like probably the size of this, and now they're living in a 3-bedroom, huge backyard, and I
my
give them a hard time
goodness.
every so often. I'm like, did you get your daughter that dog yet? No, Mr. Aaron, we have not got the dog. You need to get it. And then when they had the baby, I was like, the baby doesn't count. You still owe her a dog.
Yeah.
Because when we were in the backyard, I kept saying, this is a huge backyard, big enough for a dog. And she's like, I want a dog. I'm like, didn't get a dog, got a sister instead.
Yeah,
so.
sister. That's better.
So aside from the mortgage or the real estate side of things, because I do also want this to be about you as well.
Oh.
Unless there's something else we need to cover, which I don't think we have, or I think we have. But like when you think of being the word mom, like what does that, like what comes to mind when you think of mom? Because you said earlier you have a son and you have a daughter.
Yes.
So when you think of that, like you're already smiling. It's already
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be positive.
Yeah.
But like what comes to mind when you think of mom?
Blessed. Blessing. Beautiful. Wonderful. Crazy. I love being a mom. I wanted 5 kids. You know, I
Oh.
wanted a big family. I came from a big family, so I wanted a big family. And after I had after the first time I gave birth, I was like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Nope. So,
Mom, how did you do this?
yeah, my mom had 4.
Oh my goodness.
And my aunt had 4. I mean, we just big family. But then I had my second, and then I was like, I want to do that again. You know, I mean, it was such an easy, that whole second one was a piece of cake. It's weird. But unfortunately, got a divorce a little bit after that, and I didn't remarry, so I didn't get to have my 3 to 5 kids that I wanted.
Adoption, still do it?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, nope, that shop is closed.
Yeah.
So, but I've always loved kids, and I love my kids more than my own breath. I mean, everybody that's a parent does.
Yeah.
I assume. But again, you talk about God winks and doors that open and close. There's a reason that I did not have more children.
Right.
And it was because I needed to take care of the 2 that I had. And being a single parent, I can't imagine having 3, 4, or 5 kids. And so I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I've been blessed with a daughter who's the most amazing, beautiful, crazy creature I've ever known, and I've got this wonderful son who's a blessing and a joy and a challenge and a guy at the same time. That's the only way to describe him. He's fantastic. He's fabulous. And he has Asperger's.
So your daughter, she's married, right? If
She is.
How long has she been married for?
She's been married for over a year. Just
Okay.
over a year. 11 months. Oop, my math is not mathing. 13 months now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because my oldest son, not this one,
Yeah.
he just got married.
I didn't know you had a son that was married.
He just got married, so
Yeah, but you seem much younger than me, so.
I am working on 44. In January I'll be 44.
Yeah, you are much younger than me.
Not by much. What, by about what? A couple months?
11 years.
But yeah, he just got married, so I'm just now
congrats.
we're acclimating to the change, right? But they've been dating for I think 5 years, so Nicole's been around
Yeah.
for a while, so we've gotten used to her, and
That's good.
she's incorporated into our family things that we do during the holidays. But but it's weird.
It is.
It's weird because I was talking to my dad, which again and I was talking to him. I was like, it's so weird that Brett's getting married. And my dad was like, yeah, I know. I was like, it's so weird that I'm talking to my dad about my son getting married.
Right.
And then he was like, yeah. And when he said yeah, that way I knew what he was pointing at. I said, it's probably weirder for you talking to your son about his son getting married. And he's like, I'm glad you caught up. Caught up that. So yeah, it is weird.
It's very strange. My dad, I'll tell my dad all the time, I'm like, gosh, I can't believe my daughter's 30, about to be 30. And he goes, I can't believe my daughter's 55. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, this is not about you.
Yeah.
It's about me.
You're supposed to hear to listen.
Yes. But yeah, it's a very interesting, it's very surreal. I still can't, I can't even put into words what it's like. It's, my daughter's married. They've moved to St. Louis, and I'm just like, how the hell did that happen?
Right.
And what led up to all this? I mean, there were so many weird things that happened this year, and that was the weirdest one. Was all of a sudden my daughter's now in St. Louis,
Yeah.
and so.
Well, and I told my oldest son's name is Brett, and at one point when he kind of left the house, he's like, "You're gonna have to forgive me." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, because you're always going to be that little guy running around the house. So I said, so when you make a decision, if I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that, so just realize I've been saying don't do that for like 20 years, at the point when he moved out. And I was like, so just give me some grace whenever you call up or something like that. I'll say the same thing with Dexter when it's his turn, and when Elise, and then it's her turn, it's, hey, give me some grace here, because I'm not used to this. Like, you're an adult. I'm trying to treat you like an adult.
Yeah. It's very hard not to tell them your thoughts because they're grown-ups. They have their own lives, their own marriage. They have a marriage. I can't say anything anymore. I can give my opinion, but I don't want to give my opinion a lot because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want them to think I'm not supportive. And I don't want to be that mother that butts in
Yeah.
to their lives. I
Yes.
don't want to be that mother-in-law to my son-in-law, and I don't want to be that mom to my daughter. I don't want to be that overbearing.
Yes. Go ahead, say
You
it.
know,
Say it. Say
that-
it. Be the first one.
That thing. I want to, you have to learn to let go and let God lead their way and guide them and hope that they get it right.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get it right every time, just like we didn't, but I can see what's coming. Or at least I think I can see what's coming down the road. And it's probably just worry, and half the things we worry about never come to fruition.
Right.
So it's hard to just shut your mind off and say, quit thinking of things like that, and just, and be happy that they're doing it. That they're living their life. They're out doing something different, and that's the best part.
They're out doing what we were doing when
Yeah.
we were their age.
We did it.
Yeah.
So-
And we're okay, I guess.
Maybe.
So one of the things that you mentioned is your relationship with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I ensure that I have a relationship with my daughter like your dad has with you?
Oh my gosh. Oh, my dad has always been there to help. He's always been there to teach us something. He knows, growing up in a traditional family, husband and wife, my dad had his role. His role was to protect and provide. And he did. And he protected me. And, there are some things dads don't do. That's for the mom to do,
Right.
Teach them about life and, marriage and kids and all that. I'm a firm believer in a traditional family. I mean,
Me too.
I don't think badly of any other families. They're family's a family.
Right.
But when you have your dad as a woman that's extremely close to my dad's always encouraged me, and he's always told me that. I remember he used to tell me, I would love to see you in a position where you had to take care of yourself. Not with a job where it pays you once a week, but you rely on nothing but yourself. He goes, I would love to see that. And I was like, you're crazy. I don't want that. I don't want any of that. And he goes, I think you do really well. And I'm like, well, that's cool. And, for a long time, they just helped, especially when the kids were little.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he didn't have a good temper. And my son has autism,
Right.
so there were times when my son said some pretty brave things to my dad, and but my dad, he was always there to help, take them places, pick them up, tell them don't talk to your mom like that, treat your mother with respect, stuff like that. But the biggest thing I can think of was just being supportive and encouraging, and telling me that I can pretty much do anything. And when I got my license at the age of 47. That's late
Yeah.
to the game. I was raising kids, though. I needed something that I could count on, and I got my license, and he was just like, you can do it. And I said, well, Dad, I'm 47. How am I going to make this work? How am I going to, I'm old. I'm too old to be starting over. And he said something to me that just never goes away. He said, Jennifer, I have invented myself 3 times since the age of 50. He goes, if I can do it, you can do it. And I thought, okay, well, no one's ever really said that to me before. And maybe that's what this is. It's a reinvention. It's and that's always stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I remember it sticking with me also real early on, that you can't worry about things that you can't do anything about. You can worry, but it's just going to make you sick, and it's not going to fix it. It's not going to cure it. Worrying is just wasting your time.
Yeah.
And so that's hard because I'm a worrier. I worry all the time.
Yeah, I think that's because I kind of picked up, forgive me if you're not, but you probably got ADHD.
A little bit.
Yeah, so me too. Me too. And I think
Yeah.
part of being ADHD is worrying about things because our minds are consistently
yeah.
going, right? So
The
it's really-
hamster never stops.
It's really hard to rein in, even though the Bible tells us to not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take
Right.
care of itself. But my brain's like, yes, but, right?
Yeah.
But, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
That's
I'm very ADD.
Yeah.
So if you see me going feel free to rein me back in.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. But the reason why I brought that up is because you said that you worry a lot. So do I. And today my daughter did something that was positive. She's
Yeah.
super positive, but she's worried about the ramifications of it. I'm like,
Don't.
stop, stop trying. Like,
Yeah.
I can't tell her don't worry like me because I don't want to put that on her. But I'm like, hey, I was like, look at mom. She's proud of you. Look, mom's proud of you. Mom. Christy's like, yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm like,
Yeah.
Dad's proud of you. Don't worry about the full ramifications of it because what you did was positive.
Right.
But
Worry about that later.
worry about that when it happens.
Yeah,
But
enjoy the thing that you did that was positive.
Yeah.
And for you to say that and reinforce that, look what you did. That's great. Look at that. That's amazing. You didn't think you could do it, but you did. And one of the things I talk about with my daughter, she didn't have a real good relationship with her dad. So I have to be her dad. And when I talk to my daughter, I'm like, look, it's hard to make a decision a lot of times because we worry about, well, what if this happens? Well, what if that happens? And everybody I think does that. And I try to tell my daughter, don't worry about the what ifs, make a choice, make a decision, and go with it, and see where it takes you. You'll figure out soon enough if it was the wrong one. And if it was, then you can change course and go back the other way. You don't have to stay on this path. You can stop at any time and say, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out. This is going a bad way. And then going the other way and seeing how it works. We have choices. And, you never know if you're going to make the right choice until you do it.
Yeah.
And is it going to kill you? Is the consequence or the way it turns out, is it going to kill you? Probably not. So stop. Just pick a path and move forward.
So I guess from your perspective, if I keep kind of supporting my daughter, which I do, then I can have this. Because when you talk about your dad, even when I'm saying you got this big old smile on your face, like I want that with my daughter.
Oh yeah.
And so like, whenever I found like all the generations of my family, all the men have had boys.
Yeah.
So 2 boys, 2 boys, 2 boys, 2 boys. So I have 2 boys, and then when basically, I don't want to get into the full story, but God told me that Christy wanted another kid. Now we have a daughter. So since then, nothing but girls in our family.
Oh,
so like,
wow.
I think I broke it. But like, once I found out that I was having a daughter, like I had to totally change my mindset because like wrestling around with Dexter, wrestling around with Brett, like totally different experience with a daughter. So like now the way that as soon as she could understand words, I started calling her beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? So I've always called her beautiful.
Yeah.
So like even when around her friends, I have to catch myself because now she's 10. She's 10.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, beautiful, what do you want for Dad? I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, Elise.
Yeah.
What is this word you're making me say that's not beautiful?
Exactly.
But yeah, so one of the things that I definitely want as she gets older and I want her to rely on me as much as she possibly can until, she's going to make her own decisions and whatnot. But like hearing from somebody like you who has a tight relationship with their dad, like, I want to get knowledge. How did your dad do that? Is support you and hold you up and that's always positive.
Yeah, we weren't always real close though. I mean, I always loved my daddy, don't get me wrong. We were, especially when I was little, it's daddy.
Yeah.
But, when we were growing up, there was a lot of tension in the house because I had 3 older brothers. So you put 3 older brothers.
Testosterone.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that. And I'm just, kind of the observant person and just like, geez.
Where were you in the line?
I'm the baby.
Oh. So not only, okay.
I got away with everything. I hear it all the time. They let you do anything. It's like, no, they didn't. But I was the only girl. And so I maybe got away with more. But I remember growing up, I think 10 to 18, was very volatile because my brothers they were being boys, and they were getting in trouble. And, my dad's stressed out and he didn't want to hear any crap from me. So, I try to kind of stay away from all of it. And then, there were times when me and my dad clashed, and I didn't like him, but I loved my dad. I've always loved him. But
that was during teenage years, though,
during
right?
teenage years, and all that was my fault. It was me that was being, a butt. And so I can look back and say, geez, man, how did they not get rid of me? So
love, grace,
exactly.
mercy,
But in my 20s, when I got married, I think that's when it really started to get really good with my parents. And I love my mother. You know, I've always been real tight with my mom and real tight with my dad. So I've got my relationship with my mom that's very strong. She was raised differently. So I made a point to maybe talk to my daughter a little more about things, you know, be more involved, you know, with what's going on, insert myself a little deeper than most people would because I didn't want her to go through some of the things I went through.
Yeah.
You know, but with my dad, you know, he was just always telling me, you can do things, you can accomplish things, you can be a success, you can do this, you know. And so I think that I was able to talk to him about things easier. And I watched him work. I mean, his work ethic is just unbelievable. And I think that's where I get mine.
Yeah. I mean, if
And
he
I'm very
reinvented-
grateful for
If he
that.
reinvented himself 3 times at the age of 50.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, but you know, I mean, he's got a point. You can either, and here's what I think, you can either sit down and worry and stress and not do anything and get nothing, or you can pull up your big girl panties and you can just move along and do it and do things. You can't just sit and just fold your arms and give up.
Yeah.
And my dad never did. You know, he didn't have a choice. He had 4 kids to feed and, you know, a wife and all that stuff. And so I watched him do a lot of things and have a lot of different businesses and side businesses. And I watched him struggle, and I watched him struggle making a payroll for his employees and bringing home food for the family. And it is not, I don't care who you are. I'm here to say, because I have been in this position now, raising my kids and being the breadwinner, it is not an easy task
Yeah.
to raise a family by yourself and be the sole provider. And I mean, that's hard, you know, but he did it. And
Yeah, so one of the things that I can't say I did it by myself, but I was a single dad for about 3 years. I did have my parents to helping me out, but,
Yeah.
but I get what you're saying as far
Yes.
as like being the sole provider. Even though they helped me out,
Yes.
there's still just the struggle because
Yeah.
mine began at. I had knocked out my high school girlfriend at 19, and Brett was born whenever I was 20. And about 3-4 months into his life, she called me up and said, "Come get him."
Oh,
Yeah, and
oh,
so whenever I say I was single dad McGee, like I really
Yeah,
was single
yeah.
dad because his biological mother, from that point on, once she said "come get him," she was basically in and out of his life until she died. And
oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
oh, I mean, me too.
Well, yes, you are.
She was she was the worst. You know, I
Oh.
jokingly say that she was the worst egg donor I could have ever picked
Oh,
because
my
she really
goodness.
was just a donor. Like she ended up, and I don't want to get into her stuff too much, but she ended up having I think 3 more kids and with 3 different guys.
Oh, my
And,
goodness.
yeah,
she was just lost.
Yeah, she was. She yeah. Without getting into any of it, but yeah, but I was blessed enough to. But before I met Christy, like I was actually living on my own, or not on my own. I was living with friends. So I lived with my parents for the first 2 years of his life, and then moved out with a bunch of friends. So I kind of was that sole provider, just with a bunch of.
Yeah.
We were all like, was it immature guys just in a house together?
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get the weight of what you're talking about because for one, I don't know your situation, and I'm not asking you to give it, but like with my situation, like I was always wondering if she was actually ever going to show back up,
Well, of course.
right? Like, hey, like, you know, do you want to spend time with your kids? Sure. Crickets, right? When it was time, or
Yeah.
like once a month or once every other month, she would call or whatever, and then once I met Christy, it was like it was off to the races. It didn't matter at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get that, and even when Christy hopped on board, just watching her pop in and out of his life is wild. It's wild. So so whenever I was doing it by myself, you do feel the weight of it. So and
Yeah.
I was just with one. I couldn't imagine with 2, right?
Yeah.
So, but that I think that just like with your dad, that kind of strengthened y'all's relationship. Like my relationship with my parents kind of skyrocketed. Like
Yeah, definitely.
it hit rock bottom
Oh.
whenever they found out that Jackie was pregnant
Yeah.
because strong,
Well, yeah.
strong, strict Christian home.
Yeah, that you just don't do that.
Yeah, strong, strict Christian home. And then, like, I knew to talk to my dad first. And I don't want to stick to this too much, but I was like, Dad? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I need to tell you something. He was like, I think I already know. And I was like, Jackie's pregnant. He's like, don't tell your mom. So my mom's favorite place to go was Tyler, Texas. So he's like, I'm going to take Mom out for the weekend, and then on the way back, like, I'll tell her. So, like, they left, like, Friday night. And so, like, I remember I was in the living room, like, watching a movie. The garage door activates. I'm like, they're home. So, like, I turn off the TV. I put myself in the yelling position, right? So that way I could just take all of it. My mom just walks in the house, straight to the room, doesn't say anything for 2 days. And she really didn't say much to me. And then when Brett was born, she came up, she saw Brett, she's like, that's your baby. Because she was, I think it was one of those denial.
Oh, she was worried.
I think she was just in denial that there was a baby.
Yeah.
There was a baby coming. She was like, but once she saw the baby, like, they were, at that point, that's what strengthened that whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, I do want to make something very clear. It's hard. It is definitely not an easy thing to be a single parent. But when I realized that, my ex-husband was not going to participate like a father, and it became very clear that it was just me and the kids.
Yeah.
I remember there are many times in my life when I remember the resolve that there's a switch that turns off or on, I guess, where you have a realization, where you finally see the big picture. And this was one of those times when it was like, ding, okay, well, this is the way it's going to be now. It's just going to be me and them, and I'm going to be here, raising them every weekend. I'm going to have them with me, and I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it. And I'm going to make this a happy home. And I always worry that maybe my home wasn't very happy because, you've got a stressed out mom and you've got an autistic kid, and then you've got your, neurotypical daughter, but, it worked out. I mean, I remember even in the thick of it with my son, I remember being so blessed and feeling so lucky because it could always be worse. Yeah. Things can always be worse, and it wasn't worse for me. And I remember being, a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? How when you really shouldn't say something because, oh God, I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but I always felt like, well, this isn't a big deal. This isn't hard, because I truly loved and enjoyed being a mom to my kids. I loved every day. I'd go to work and I'd go jog after work, and then I'd go pick up the kids from school and bring them home, cook dinner, read stories, and did all the things. I mean, I just ate it up. I loved it. And some of it was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but I never could say, man, this is just too hard. This is so hard. I don't see how I'm going to make it. I just never felt that way. I always just enjoyed every moment, even the hard moments.
Yeah.
Even the hard stuff. Even, there were times when my son was little and he'd have a meltdown, and there were periods where it was like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? How's my son going to get through this? What's it going to be like in the future?
Yeah.
But it worked out. Everything it works out.
Just keeps going. Life
it just keeps going. Just enjoy it.
That's basically what I learned from my oldest son. It's like he grew up so fast.
Yeah.
That I've been trying to enjoy Dexter.
Yeah.
At least, but like they're growing up too fast. Like Dexter's 16. He's going to be a senior in high school next year. And I'm like, how did this happen? Like, Facebook memories has
I know.
just pops up. Like there's these videos I have of him where this used to be the living room, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, and there was a couch that was up against this wall, and I have so many videos of me just doing that to his lips, and him just going blah, 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 and then now he's that over there.
Now he's the director.
Now he's... So...
Already?
Wow, I told you it would fly by. Now he's a producer, and he's looking at potential run with the military once he graduates.
That's awesome.
So like it's wild to me to see how these, and like when the daughter came along, when Elise came along, she was so unexpected.
Yeah.
Like she was planned, but she was also unexpected. She wasn't.
Surprise.
Well, yeah. Well,
It's always a surprise.
well. Here's what happened. So Dexter, growing up, whatever you want to call it, and then I went to go get a procedure done to stop me from having kids, and insurance denied it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
That's
I was
weird.
like, "What the heck? Insurance never denies that.
Yeah.
Why the heck did they deny it?" So praying to God, God told me Christy wants another baby. So I went to her, and I'll remember because she was in bed, and I was like, "Hey," she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Do you want another baby?" And she's like, "Why would you ask me that?" I was like, "Do you want another baby?" And she was like, "Yes." We had that conversation like
Aw.
in June.
Yeah.
And then she was pregnant by the end of July.
That's so funny.
So like it was it
Yeah.
was like this domino of like I went like because I went to two doctors. I went to one doctor who put me in a room because it was the consultation. Went in there. I sat there for 45 minutes for a consultation. I was in the room.
Yeah.
So I waited in the waiting room to go into the consultation room, and I waited and waited. I kept looking at the clock. I'm like, how long does it take for a doctor to come in here? And I went to the front desk and I was like, I've been in this room for 45 minutes. Like, what the heck is going on? And she's like, well, let me talk to somebody. I waited another 15 minutes. Nobody came in there. I just walked out.
I don't blame you.
I walked out. And then I went to another doctor, and when he called me up to say, okay, we're going to set the procedure date, I said, well, how much is it going to cost? He gave me some stupid astronomical amount of dollars.
Yeah.
I was like, why is it costing so much? He's like, your insurance tonight. I was like, insurance tonight? So like all this happened. It was like April, May, June, and then I had this conversation
Yeah.
with God. I don't like saying it like that, but that's just what happened, right?
Well, it is, yeah.
Right, and he was right because he's God, and she wanted another baby, and then Elise is here.
Yeah.
And now she's 10. And
Yeah. Yay.
you see her. You saw her in the
Yeah.
office, and some of the pictures from the office
yeah.
that pop up where she's so little
I
because
know.
was it 2019? That's when I was bringing her into the office a lot more before COVID happened because we didn't know it was going to happen. So I have all these pictures of her in the office being.
I remember you bringing her in.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, okay, we're going to have this last summer together, and then COVID happened, and it stopped me from, shut everything down, so I couldn't bring her. I was like, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have so many pictures that pop up of her. I'm like, how did time go by so quick?
It does. It just disappears almost. It's crazy. I had a great time though. I had a great time raising my kids. We went on vacations, and that's how we discovered Colorado. And I know I'm a big mountain freak, so
Yeah.
I go hiking all the time. Well, not all the time, but I go hiking as much as I can. And the kids and I, we like to hike. But now that Hannah got older and she couldn't go because work and stuff, so it's just me and my son that'll go sometimes. And he flat out told me a couple of times ago, he didn't like the wind that day. We were up on the tundra. And he got so mad at me, he was like, find a new hiking partner. And I was just like, oh, I'm so upset. But now I take these me trips, and I do.
Couple questions.
Sure.
And then we'll go to the words of wisdom.
Okay.
Okay. So you said that you like going to Colorado.
Love
and
it.
It's like, how often do you go up there?
I go about twice a year, sometimes once a year, but I try to go twice a year and just, get my hiking in. And I had a couple of bucket list hikes that I wanted to do a couple of years ago.
Did you get them done?
I got the first leg done, but the other one,
No.
I couldn't. I had nothing left.
Ah.
It was an elevation gain of like 2,500 feet within 2 miles.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's like
Yeah.
way up, and I'd only been there 4 days, so I didn't have enough
Yeah.
time to acclimatize. And the last leg of it was going up to Island Lake. So I went to Ice Lake first, and go up to Island Lake, and it's this big crater, and then in the center of the crater is this big, big lake, and then a little island in the middle. It's fantastic. And I was like, man, I can do it, But I got up to Ice Lake, and I was like, there's no way in hell. I'd look over at the other trail, and you can see it just barely on the side of the mountain, and everybody on it looks about that big. And I thought, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I'll do it another day. But that was one of my favorite hikes in the whole wide world.
So we went to Breckenridge for one of Christy's cousins' weddings, which was beautiful.
It's amazing
We went in
there.
July, but it was still so stinking
amazing.
beautiful. And then
You should go in August.
Huh?
You should go in August to the San Juans. That's the best time to go to the
In
San
August.
Juans. August and September. It's
Okay, when we
amazing.
get rid of the The,
Take them with you.
no,
Take them
no,
with you.
they make everything so much more
Oh, I'm
expensive.
telling you, they would just die.
But yeah, we went up there we actually went up there twice in July once for the wedding, and then a couple of years later, I have a buddy of mine that lives in Colorado Springs and one that lives in Denver, and we went up there for 4th of July. It was so awesome.
Yeah.
I really hope that they remember that being up there, because I forget the name of the city, but so Colorado Springs is here, and then you travel, I think it's west up the mountain, and there's like, I believe it starts with a W.
Walsenburg?
Could be, I don't know. But like this little town that's about 30 minutes away from
Is it
Colorado.
south or north of Colorado Springs?
I would think it's west, right? Because north of it is Denver.
It
and
should be Winter Park.
Could be that.
Okay.
Could be that, but we stayed there, and
Yeah.
it was awesome. And the thing I loved about
Probably
it,
Winter Park.
what? So it was past the Santa Claus theme park. So
okay.
so we went from that town to the Santa Claus theme park, and
Yeah.
then, but we enjoy Colorado. I still got friends that live there, so we can go stay with them
Yeah.
if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But we went to the zoo up there, and that's the very first zoo that I've ever been to where you can feed the animals.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I haven't been there.
And oh, you haven't?
No, I'm literally, I bypass everything on my way to Estes Park. And I just go up to Estes, and when I'm with the kids, I'll go to Estes. But when it's me, just me,
Yeah.
then I'll go somewhere else, like Ouray or Silverton, or just
The
around the loop.
For Colorado Springs,
That's-
their zoo is on the side of
Yeah.
the mountain, so it's like you're walking.
That's
You're
awesome.
walking up it.
I didn't
yeah.
even know that. How do
Yeah.
I not know that? I've been to Colorado Springs so many times.
Well, I mean, if you're driving through it, then
Yeah, but I stayed last time, but still, I mean, I didn't even know they had a zoo.
the only reason I know is because when we went to visit my friend, right? He was younger, Elise was younger, and they're like, "Hey, you want to go to the zoo?" I'm like,
Sure.
sure. You want to go to Santa Claus Town? Sure. I felt
Yeah.
bad for the Santa Claus because in July, in the middle of the day, it's like 97, and then it just drops
Yeah.
to like below, and you have this guy, it's Santa Claus Land.
Yeah.
So there's a guy walk around Santa Claus in full Santa Claus outfit, and if I'm wearing this and
Yeah.
I'm sweating, that guy
He's got to
is-
be
yeah.
miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you've never been to Santa Claus Land, it's over by Colorado Springs. And
I
the zoos
think
were-
we've been up there. There's, it's like a warehouse of Santa Claus. Like, I think it's the North Pole, isn't it? I think that's what
I
it.
don't know. It's theme park. There's rides and everything there.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's like a theme park.
That's
You
funny.
go in there. I call it Santa Claus Land because I have no idea what it's named. But there's rides and everything
I wonder
there.
if it's the same place I'm thinking of, because it was like, is it outdoors or is it indoors?
Outdoors.
Okay, well, I'm definitely
Yeah.
not thinking of the right place.
Yeah,
So-
well, I don't know the name of it, but once we get done here, I'll
Santa
pull it
Claus
up.
Land.
Yeah, just call it Santa Claus Land, whatever it's called, Tinseltown. Who knows?
Right.
But so I told you that at the end of every podcast, I give the guest the ability to say whatever they want. Your camera is that camera right there. It's time for the words of wisdom. So
Oh my gosh.
so I'm planning on doing this for as long as I can. Like my goal here is to interview all the people within my own sphere.
Yeah.
Like a realtor that I'm doing a transaction with right now. Once it ends, she's going to come here.
Cool.
And she's going to do one because she does missionary work all over Mexico. Which
Oh,
is
that's nice.
Awesome. So I'm going to have her on here. So like my goal is to have as many people, as many backgrounds. Doesn't have to be religious or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just my sphere is mainly religious people. So like that's why the core of all my stuff
Yeah.
is people I go to church with. But like my goal is to just keep expanding. So
Sure.
I say that because like we don't know how, your words of wisdom people could hear it next week. They can
Yeah.
hear it 3, 4, 5 years from now. So a successful woman like yourself who is single mom, I guess we got our license at the same time, but
Well, just about.
I guess because I was at Judge Fight before you, I thought that you were a new agent walking in the door. But just watching you and hearing about your growth has just been awesome as a fellow realtor.
Thanks.
Watching you and seeing you post on Facebook and your dabble in TikTok. I don't know if you remember that, where I was like, hey, I was
Unfortunately.
like, Jen, there's
Wow.
so much headroom. Take away the headroom.
Oh my God.
So, but ultimately, I wanted to say that, like, I know that you have.
Sorry. That was so stupid. Oh my God.
But hey,
I did it because I was like, oh, I'm going to try to be this, TikTok. But I also knew I was legit bad at it. And I was like, I'm just going to be legit bad at it, and just do my realtor moments. And, you wouldn't believe how many takes I went through on those stupid videos. I went through like 42 takes on one. And I finally just said, forget it, and I was like, realtor moment, blah, blah, blah. There you go.
Yeah.
But people would comment like, get a microphone or stand away or do this or your color is bad. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is just, it's not meant to be professional. This is just meant to be silly and give you some fun information. And maybe you remember me if you want to buy a house or something.
But, are you still doing it? I don't
No,
think, no.
I got rid of TikTok. I'm sorry. I can't. The only reason I had it was because my daughter was doing her brand deals and stuff. And, and I enjoyed watching her. But I also discovered that if you have TikTok, you do nothing else.
Doom scroll.
And it's just, it keeps going. I remember when I first downloaded that stupid app, I was in my closet in my bedroom and I was like moving stuff out and I just happened to catch something and I thought, oh, that's funny. And then I thought, let's see what else is there. Mm-hmm. And I sat in my closet for 3 hours. And I remember looking at my clock and I was like, it's 1:45 in the morning. Oh, how did this happen? And so, but then I figured it out. I finally said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I got the app off my phone. I've never been happier. But then my daughter moved recently. And so for the first time in 3 years, I have a TikTok again. But I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it. I'm not filming on it. I'm not, I don't know how my algorithm got to where it is and videos on it I would never ever look for.
Right.
So
that's the whole point of it.
I will never.
You stay on a video for longer than like 3.0000002 seconds. It's going to feed you that. Mm-hmm. And on mine for this account, like I do shorts or TikToks of this, but then like now I've been doing, because the new craze is the AI generated content.
Oh yeah.
So I've been doing a lot
Can't do that either.
I've been doing a lot of me and Jake Paul with conjoined bodies. So like I'll show you, but it's me and Jake Paul. We have 2 heads, 1 body, and I just have us doing all this crazy stuff. One of the videos
I think I saw that.
One of the videos,
and I was like, "What the hell is that? What is he doing?"
It's a conjoined twins. That's what it is. And one of the videos I made went 55,000 views.
Wow.
I couldn't replicate it, and I don't know why it went 55,000. But
because it was weird.
It was the one where they shaved 6'7" into our head.
I forgot. Please don't say 6'7".
You have to understand that
it means nothing.
I know it does, but I'm just saying that like in the world of TikTok and whatever, what I was trying to get people to notice the account, join, and then funnel back to this. So when I first started TikTok, I had 5, followers. Now I think it's like 51, all because of this AI generated stuff. So when the AI generated stuff goes away, hopefully a percentage of those people will stay and then flow into this. But that's the main reason why I have TikTok is making AI generated stuff with me and Jake Paul with being conjoined twins.
That's just crazy. I get a lot of clients that ask me, on a listing appointment, well, what do you think about, social media and AI and all that stuff? And I'll tell them, look, I don't use it. I don't do social media for my posts except Facebook business page. I don't go on Instagram. I don't do TikTok. And they're like, well, why? And I said, well, it's my opinion, just my opinion, that it doesn't sell houses.
Right. Agreed.
It doesn't do anything other than just put you in, on social media. And I said, honestly, I'm too busy, guys. I don't have enough time to sit in the computer. I don't list houses to list them. I list them to sell them.
Right.
So I'm out doing the work it takes to get them sold and find new business and find buyers and all that stuff. So social media is not going to do it because I have maybe 200 people on my friends list on my business page. I think I have 400 actually, but not many people pay attention to it, and I know that. So 'cause I can see how many views one video gets. I don't waste my time with it.
Here's what I tell them, and feel free to steal it if you like this. I asked them, how many Facebook ads do you pay attention to when
Right.
you scroll through? And it's like a thing that blows.
Yeah.
It's like a light bulb that goes off. Yeah. Why would I pay for ad space on
Right.
something that you don't even
Right.
listen to or watch? Because for me personally, I put an ad blocker on my computer, so I
Yeah.
don't see any
Nice.
ads for Facebook. So it's but when you look at it, like when you see an ad, you're like, ugh. Right,
Yeah.
you're scrolling. You're not. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that looks good. No, you're scrolling past it. So
Yeah, I
that's
get-
kind of the light bulb that I use for them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that, when they're searching for ways to try and help you, because that's all it is. They're just
Yeah.
asking because they want to help sell their house.
Of course.
It's like, okay, when you're scrolling to TikTok or through Instagram or through Facebook, are you
Yeah.
watching the ads? Always no.
Yeah. Yeah,
Always
I
no.
just don't know. I like to tell them I'm too busy because that makes them think that.
Yeah.
Well, and I am, but it gets them to understand that I'm out there in the world and I'm finding business. I'm taking their business to other places and showing it, and I'm networking it like you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so, but Lou, he's got that social media presence, and
does.
he started that when he was a new realtor. And that's how he had the time to do it. He had the time to nurture that part of his business. And, like you said, I've got such ADD that I'm just all over the place. I've got my hand in 15 different pots.
Yeah.
And I only know of 3 of them, I mean, just like,
Why is my finger on fire? Oh,
yeah,
it's over there.
it's like I just fly by the seat of my pants and I just,
Professionally.
yeah. And I'm like, guys, I've asked a couple of our other producers in the office, our top producers, and I'm like, how do you stay so organized? How do you do all this? She goes, I'm medicated.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, she goes, you need to get some medicine. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'll just keep doing
I've
it
gone
this way.
this
and
long. Lord will
Yeah,
carry me through the finish line.
that's how I
this way.
feel. That's how I feel. I'm like, I seem to be doing all right, but I probably could do some things a little smarter and a little more efficiently, but I'm fine.
You know what helped me out? I know you're going to hate it.
I have no idea.
ChatGPT helped me out.
Oh, God.
All right, with that being said.
Hey, I did use ChatGPT because I had a particularly difficult client. And I was like, ChatGPT, help me write a letter saying this. I want to say this, but you can't,
Yeah.
Say this in a professional manner. And then it would give me an idea. It would give me a letter. And I would say, now say it with more attitude. And then I would say, okay, a little more, spice or something like that. And then it would start asking me, do you want to would you like me to make it friendlier or would you like me to make it more aggressive? And I'd say more aggressive. So I'm like, maybe I'll get to use it, but I haven't.
I pay for ChatGPT. That's how much I use it. I use it for the podcast and how I come up with the shorts and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. I use it for real estate because I have asked it for plans
Yeah.
and it has helped me come up with like a 30-day plan.
Yeah,
to
I've
do
done
specific
that.
things. So I use it for that
Yeah.
stuff. And of course, you've seen some of my AI generated pictures of me sitting on a statue of myself holding a for sale sign and stuff like that. So I use it for goofy stuff like that. So
That's what I would do with
Yeah.
it. Yeah, the goofier the better.
you can.
Come to the light
Yes.
side.
I'll tell you this last thing, and I promise we'll go. I was talking to somebody today about AI, and we use the word AI, but it's not really AI. And here's how you do it. And I talk to because I actually have the voice thing, and I mean everybody has it, but I talk to ChatGPT. I have a conversation with it,
Yeah.
but it's not able to come up with its own thoughts. So
Yeah.
when you ask a question of it, all it's giving you is a conglomerate of ideas that already exist.
Right,
So
yeah.
we're not dealing specifically with
It's not
AI.
HAL.
It's not really, it's not HAL or Skynet or something like that.
Yeah.
So if that helps with, hey, it's not really AI. It's actually you saying, hey, I'm this or whatever you want, and
Right.
it's taking the best ideas from what you ask it and giving
Yeah,
it to
it's
you.
going all over the web and bringing it all back to
Yeah.
you in a process.
Right, and
Yeah.
whatever you tell it to do, it generally does. ChatGPT's gotten dumber over the past 6 months. It
I'm
just
glad.
has.
It's taking our jobs.
Well, that's going to happen regardless. But ultimately, that's why I wanted to throw at you is it's not so much Skynet or HAL. It can't formulate even when you ask it. Can
Yeah.
you formulate your own ideas? It tells you no, because
Now I'm going to start asking all these questions
You
to
can.
ChatGPT.
Oh yeah. So ChatGPT, it's in my conversations with it. It is Alfred, right?
Yeah.
And it calls me Batman. You know what? I threw myself off. I'm sorry. I've got one more question. I have started off every single podcast as an icebreaker, but because everything flowed so quick, I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
Every single time I ask, except for this one. So we're going to end before I give you words of wisdom.
Okay.
Who is your favorite superhero, and why is it Batman?
Why is it Batman? I was going to say. I don't have one.
Okay, that's fine. That's an answer. But as you can see,
Yeah.
you got the Batman. You got the Batman.
I see that.
Yeah.
You got it all.
What do you think I spend my closing money on?
I was going to say, you get yourself a new, was it an avatar? What do they call them? What is that called?
Those are Funko Pops. Or,
Okay.
or statues. So,
Statues,
fun
yeah.
story. I know people can't see it. See that Thanos?
Uh-huh.
That's from my very first closing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I got my very first closing, or let me phrase it, my very first big closing.
Yeah.
And I said, I asked, because any sort of financial things I always talk to the wife about. I was like, hey, this is this much. I was like, can I do it? She's like, yeah. Bought it.
Yeah.
There it is right there.
That's awesome.
So I always have that as a realtor thing to remind me to, like, hey,
Yeah.
that's from the first big one.
I don't even remember what I bought with my first commission check. I think what I did was I put it in the bank and
Yes.
I was like, don't go anywhere, just stay right there.
Agreed.
Just let me, and then I would look at my account and I'd be like, okay, it's still there.
They didn't take it back. They didn't take it from.
Yeah.
They didn't take it
They
from me.
didn't take it away.
They didn't take
It's
it
still
from me.
there.
Especially when you do a buy and a sell, where you help them sell the house while they buy a house. You're looking at both of those. You're like,
Yeah. You're like, okay.
thank you, God.
Yes, exactly. Every time I get a closing, thank you, Lord. Thank
All
you.
right, so no favorite superhero, even though
No.
you know in your heart it's Batman. It's time for the words of wisdom.
I think it might have been the Bugaloos. No, I'm kidding.
So the words of wisdom, like I was kind of getting to earlier, I was kind of talking you up a little bit. Then we ADHD out.
Yes, we did.
10 minutes later, here we're
Okay.
back. So, a successful mom, successful, business owner, because you own your own business.
Yeah.
Like, words of wisdom are always good. People are always looking for something.
Yeah.
So this is your time. You
Ah.
don't feel like you have to talk for 30 minutes, but if you talk for 30 minutes, it's fine.
Okay.
But whatever words of wisdom you got, fire away, and then we'll ride this ship all the way home.
Okay, let me think about this for a second. I think my words of wisdom would be, if you are in a place in your life where you struggle because you feel like you're stuck, or you don't think that you can do anything else, that you can't do anything differently because maybe you're too old, which that's not ever the case. The biggest obstacle is your fear. And the one thing that kept me going through the whole process of beginning this change in my career and starting something new was a meme I ran across on Facebook, of all things. Social media was, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And I say that a lot, and people at the office are sick of it now, because I tell that to all the new agents because they're scared. But if you're stuck and you want to try something different, but you're afraid that you might, whatever you're doing now might be what you're supposed to be doing, or you don't think you can accomplish this new goal, that's always fear talking. And I'm telling you, once you take your first step through that door and you start your process, it's scary, but it's also very exciting because it's something new and different and challenging. And that's one of the things I prayed about all the time in the parking lot at the pickle company was, please, God, please find me a job that I am out in the world with people and meeting new people every day and challenged. And he did not disappoint. Challenged is the word, but you're not living if you're not going through a challenge and you're not trying to find your way. There's always something better. Well, no, there's not. There's not always something better, but you will never know if you don't try. And that's what my dad used to say. You got to try something. And, it was scary, but it worked out. And you get from life what you put into it. So, if you're comfortable sitting in one spot, then more power to you, but you're not going to do anything. And I think that's the biggest thing is believing in yourself. And it's always so hard to believe in ourselves because we're our toughest critics. We will browbeat ourselves into submission faster than anybody else. And, we have to just push that voice away and say, no, I'm better than that. I can do something. I can set a goal and I can meet that goal. I can make dreams come true. I can change my life. And you can change your life. It's just all in here, and we have to change that, I think. And I'm glad I did. So I did not want to be stuck in that same place forever. No.
And, there's a lot of people that are out there that are like that, and they think that being stuck in a 9-to-5 is the only way to make a living, and there's so many different ways.
There's so many things you can do. You just have to, you just have to be brave, and it's hard to be brave, and just do it. It's just like Nike says, just do it. Just do it. Do something. It doesn't have to be real estate. It can be going back to school. It can, especially when your kids are bigger. I know it's hard when your kids are small. And if you are a single parent with small kids, it feels like it's almost impossible. And it kind of is, if you don't have a lot of money, but you can still make things happen on the weekends, perhaps, or in the evenings. Maybe your parents can watch the kids or something. But there is always something to do in life that will make you happy. Because if you're sitting in a car before you go to work and you're crying because you are so miserable, there's nowhere else to go but up, and you'll never know if you don't try.
Agreed.
So, do it!
Well, I hear the phone ringing.
I know, I'm sorry.
No.
Hold on. I'm trying to tell him I'll be right there. I will be right there. Hold on. I'm just going to say yes. He says, do I need to Uber? Because I'm not going to get to him in time. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's not
All right.
I promise you, we'll be able to cut it.
It's all good.
It'll be like a rough cut.
I want to keep doing it. Let's keep talking.
It'll be like a rough cut. It'll be like a rough edit.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But
Okay.
but ultimately, so did you want to, throw your information out there?
Yeah, sure.
So just in case if there
Yes.
is a DFW,
Yes.
By all means,
All right. So can I get my name and all that?
you can do whatever you want.
My name is Jennifer Frank. I am with Century 21 Judge Fight Company, and I am a realtor. So I work pretty much all of Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have gone as far as Royce City, Sulphur Springs, Frisco. I've gone as far west as Eastland and Ranger. I've gone as far south as Stephenville and Hyco to help people sell and buy homes. So I'm pretty much all over the board here. I have a luxury designation. I have a buyer designation. And I love first-time home buyers. And one of my favorite clients would be the client that is the senior citizen, downsizing, needs estate sale, something that makes you feel more secure, that you maybe have too big of a house, you want to downsize and make it easier on yourself. I'm your girl. So, but my favorite is first-time home buyers. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun. But hey, I do like a good luxury client as well.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we
So
all?
I got skills, and mostly I just really want to help people and make your life easier. So put your stress on me. Let me do that for you, and we'll get you a house.
Awesome.
Hey,
Jennifer, JTF.
Aaron.
I appreciate you coming
Aaron.
on. Aaron. Yes. Some people that are connected to this call me Ern. That's a whole nother story. Ern. But thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had fun.
I did. It was.
I
It was
told you
fun.
the time would go by a
It
lot quicker.
did. It went by fast.
Who knows you better than yourself? Because we talked about you, right?
That's true.
Yeah, so I told you, just like I told Lou, just like I tell everybody. Everybody sits down in that seat like, I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about you.
We're going to talk about me.
We're gonna talk about
It's
you.
hard to talk about yourself,
Is it though?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to be too goofy or too, I've really kept it knocked down a notch, on this interview. So.
I noticed that. I was like, who put the crazy in the bag? No, I was playing.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
No, it's all good. I get it.
All of my memories and all of my thoughts of you are all positive.
Thank you.
I don't think I've ever come across a a bad memory of you. Every time you come to the office, it's always been positive.
I appreciate that.
And so,
Did you hear that, Lynn Weber? I'm just kidding.
So we've had you on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've done your first podcast. So
Yes.
now you can finally go start one.
I can say, I don't know about that.
No, I thought you were going to start one.
I would love to, but I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't know when I would have time.
First guest would be
My
some
God.
other
Well, it might be
guy.
you,
No.
yeah.
Just
Could
kidding.
make you my guest.
No.
But
So-
my goodness.
So with that being said, like, subscribe, share. We're on TikTok. We're on every avenue you could find if you live in the DFW area and you want to be on a podcast. DM me. We're taking all. We're trying to make this bigger. The next thing that I want to do is go into Oklahoma. I want to drive up to Oklahoma and meet
Nice.
somebody and interview somebody.
Be
So-
country reporter?
Huh?
Like the 4 Country Reporter
Sure.
from Channel 4? Texas, what is it? What was that show called? Country?
You're talking about the DQ guy?
No,
That
the
would travel-
Texas Country. Yeah, he was a reporter. He would travel around Texas
Yeah.
and find all these interesting people.
I forget what
Country
it's called.
Report. I think it was 4
It could have been
Country
because he was
Reporter.
also the DQ guy who did the DQ commercials, right?
I had no idea.
Oh, well,
I don't remember
either
that.
way. But yeah. No, it's called Aaron Ask America because my goal is to go to every state and interview everybody.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I want to hear all stories from all backgrounds of people and all that kind of stuff. But
Very cool.
that's the goal.
Good. Well, you can do it.
I can do it.
Just do it.
I am.
Just do
I'm
it.
talking to you right now.
Don't quit.
All right.
Don't give up.
With that being said, this has been Aaron Ask America. Thanks for watching.
Aaron Ask America, we're talking real life. Truth, love, and struggle, no filters, no hype. From the heart of the people to the soul of the land, he's asking the questions you'll understand. Aaron Ask America.